Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I welcome you to the next session of the Linux lecture series. In the previous session, we talked about formatting the partitions of our hard disk, and today, after we have done the formatting part, we will learn how we can mount a file system or mount a partition. Right, students, a Unix-like file system is best visualized as a tree rooted at the /. Let me open. Okay. So we have seen that the Unix file system starts from the /, then it has directories in it, and right now I am in /home Arif. The root file system is mounted as part of the initialization process. When the system boots, this file system is mounted automatically. To make other file systems usable, we must mount them at some mount point, which is normally a directory. Mounting is the process of making the foreign file system look like part of the main tree. So before I proceed, let me give you a practice in the very beginning. Let's suppose that I have a USB flash device attached with my system, and I want to mount it. Normally we mount it somewhere in the mnt directory or the media directory. Okay, let me remove it. Okay, right now I am in mnt directory and I want to mount a file system which is there on my USB. So first of all, I need to create a directory. Let me do sudo mkdir usb flash. I have a directory over here, and of course there is nothing in this directory. You can see that. Now I want to mount the file system located inside this USB onto this. For that, I have to use the command that is mount. And if you see mount, the basic syntax of the mount command is something like this. It says that give this command and then tell me the type of the file system which is there on that device, and then give me the name of the device and then the mount point, which is a directory. You can read the details of the mount command at the time of your ease. Right now I just give the command sudo mount -t, and the file system on this USB is vfat, and the device on which the USB normally mounts is the SCSI device B, and we know that A is a hard disk, and the mount point is in the present working directory USB flash. Now if I do ls USB flash, you can see a lot of files over there. We have f1. Let me be inside USB flash. Let me cat f1.txt. Let me do vim f1.txt, and let me today we are doing file system mounting. Bye. You see, I'm changing. Well, this file is in read-only mode. Probably I do not have permission for that. Let me quit and let me do sudo, and now of course I can we are learning file system mounting. So the file f1.txt on my USB is changed. Let me see that I have other files as well over here. A photo, let me see that photo using the eye of the Google. Okay, so this is me. Fine. Okay, there are some lectures as well lying here. So let me do VLC and let's see a lecture. Okay, so you can see the lecture has started in media player. Of course it is running, and as you know that we do things. Okay, let me close it. So what I actually wanted to say was that we mounted a file system which was there on my USB inside a directory. So it is there in USB flash. I can mount that file system at a different place as well. Let me go to my home directory, and okay, here I have another place inside my home directory, Arif, and a directory mounting which is empty. Let me mount the same file system over here as well. I do sudo mount -t vfat, the file system and the device, and I want to mount it in my home directory, and in my home directory a directory mounting. Now if I do ls, I don't find see anything. Let me cd, go out, come back, and see the file system is there as well. So remember, gentlemen, if the mount point directory already contains files or directories, they are overwritten by the new file system. Let me do it for you. Let me unmount it. Let me do sudo umount, and to unmount you just need to give the device name to the umount command, or maybe the mount point. The target is busy. Let me go out from here and give me this, and now you see I'm unmounted. Let's suppose that there is a file echo, this will stay there. So there is a file in the mounting directory. I have created file somewhere else. Okay, let me copy that to mounting. There is a file inside the mounting directory, that is f1. Inside Arif directory there is mounting directory which contains a file f1. Let me cat it. Okay, now let me mount the USB file system in this directory which already contains the file f1. Let me do mount -t vfat div sdb2. okay, and in the present working directory mounting. Sorry for the typo, this is sdb2. And now if I do ls mounting, you see this f1 is not there. This f1.txt is some other file. This f1 is not there. So if the mount point directory already contains files or directories, remember they are no longer visible to you until the file system is unmounted again. Let me unmount by umount command, and this time let me say mounting, mounting. And now if I do, you see the f1 over here. Previously the file system on the USB was mounted, and this time when I unmount it, it is no more there. Right, gentlemen, if you want to see the mounted file system right now on your machine, you can use the mount command. If you simply use the mount command, you see the file systems over there. So the platter of information, let me grab just sddev/sdb2 to see whether the USB is mounted or not. Although I have unmounted the USB from my home directory, but it is still mounted somewhere in the media and USB flash place. So let me check out ls media USB flash, and the USB flash is mounted over there as well. Let me unmount this as well. By umount, and give me the name of the device. I have to be sudo, and now if I do mount grep sdb2, there is still it is still mounted. Okay, it shouldn't have sudo sdb1. Let me try it again and unmount it, and let me see. Yes, now it is completely unmounted. It's no more there. So right, gentlemen, if you want that there is some file system which you should want that should automatically be mounted at the boot time, then you need to put an entry of that in a file that is fstab. So man fstab. This is static information about the file system. The file fstab contains descriptive information about the file system the system can mount. Fstab is only read by programs and not written. It is duty of the file system administrator to maintain this, and blah blah blah. And there are a lot of entries in this fstab file. Let me open the fstab file over here. Let me less it. The fstab file is located in @c, and we know @c is editable text configuration directory, which contains a lot of configuration files. Okay, so this file contains an entry. Each entry has 6 space or tab separated values, and the first value is the file system or the device on which you want to mount. So this is the device, that is the UID, which is given over here. The second field is the mount point, and the mount point is the place where you want to mount this directory. So if you keep a note, this UID is used to uniquely identify a partition or file system, and this / is the mount point. Mount point is this, and then the type is ext4, and the options. Let me talk about the options. Let me talk about these options over here. Right. The first field, of course, as I've shown you, is the device or the file system. The second field is the mount point. And the third field is the file system type, whether it is vfat or ext4 or whatever. The fourth field is the mount options. In the mount options, you can have defaults, written defaults over here. By default, I mean the file system will be read-write. The file system will have, if the file system has the SUID bit on, it will act accordingly. We will see what SUID bits are later on. Dev means that interpret the block devices on the system. They need to be read. Exec means if there is any executable file on that file system, it should be executed. Auto means, gentlemen, that it should be automatically mounted at boot time. If you write no auto over here, it will not be booted at loaded or mounted at boot time. No user. Well, no user means that allow known root users to mount the file system. And finally, async. Async means that all I/O to the file system should be done asynchronously. These details are mentioned over here as well. Well, finally, the fifth field. The fifth field, which, let me shrink it so that you can understand it over here. Yes, the fifth field is dump, which you normally see a 0 over here. At the dump field you have a 0, and of course 0 for the dump field we have 0 over here. It is just out. That's why you can see. The second last field is 0 on all the lines, on all the entries of this fstab file. By this sixth field means that whether the file system need to be dumped or backed up or not. Normally we see a 0 over here, that means no need to dump. And if you find a 1, that means dump it daily. If you see a 2 over there, that means dump it every second day. And then the last field is the sixth field, and on the sixth field you see a 1 in front of the / directory, and rest you have 0. So this is basically the fsck order, the file system check sequence order. And what is file system check sequence order? Let me zoom fsck. So this is used to check and repair the file system. Okay, we will talk about this. So this field is used by fsck to determine the order in which the file system check is to be done at boot time. So if you have a 1 over here, that means that in the very beginning, if you want to do fsck, it should be done of this file system, that is the root file system. So you have a 1 over here, and then you have zeros elsewhere, that means do not run. So only the root file system needs to be file system checked. This is done to maintain integrity of the file system. Okay, so once again, let me tell you that we have used mount command to check out what all file systems are mounted right now, and this information is also there in /mtab file, which also contains the same information which we have seen using the mount command. And we have seen the file fstab, and this fstab file is basically used to do permanent mounting or mounting at boot time. And then we have seen the mount command, which says that give me the file system type, like let's suppose vfat or ext2 or ext3, whatever, and then you tell me the mount point, which is normally the device name, and in the case of our USB it is sdb2, div sdb2. Then we have to give the name of the directory where we want to mount that. So one last thing which I want to touch upon is the file system integrity. Okay, whenever our system crashes or loses power, Linux may not be able to cleanly unmount the file system, and this may leave the file system in inconsistent state, with some changes completed and some not. There are certain tools which are used to check the file system, and let me ls spin. Okay, so these are some of the tools that are used by Linux for file system check. The main is fsck, and we have a lot of variations like fsck.ext2 to perform file system check on ext2 file system, fsck.ext3, fsck.ext4, and of course these are the soft links to e2fsck. So let me do man e2fsck. So e2fsck check a Linux ext2, ext3 or ext4 file system, and they are since generalized if the system has been shut down uncleanly without any errors. Normally after replaying the committed transaction on the journal, the file system should be marked as clean. So normally e2fsck will normally replay the journal and exit. Fine. So gentlemen, if you want to perform a file system check on any of the partition, the command is e2 fsck, provided if you are having a ext2 file system. If you are having the FAT, you can use fsck.fat. And if you are using some FAT32 or FAT16, so better you use fsck.vfat. Anyway, so then you need to give the name of the device, DEV STP2, suppose, if I'm going to talk about my USB device, and if I'm going to talk about my file system, let's suppose STA5. So this is the partition which I want to on which I want to perform the file system check. One last thing, gentlemen, please do not try to perform file system check on mounted file system. You may see a warning that first unmount it, and I personally recommend that whenever you are using these tools which we have talked about, please use extreme care. Data loss may be only a keystroke away. I hope it was informative. Inshallah ta'ala, I see you next time. Allah Hafiz and happy learning.